XXX. The arena was packed. Everyone was eager to see the children of the cages duke it out in front of them all. The Hokage's 3 children, the Kage's 2 children, and the Tsuchikage's granddaughter. There were even clan heirs. While the visiting lords and other members of the crowd chatted excitedly amongst themselves, a certain Toad Sage was in a constant state of panic. He truly and royally fucked up. Why? Well, when he attempted to get Naruto to let him teach the kid for the upcoming Chunin exam finals, it failed horribly, and Naruto strongly hinted that he heard Jiraiya the day he told the family the fake prophecy. So when he went to clearly things up with Naruto, he couldn't find him at all. Even when he went to Tsunade at the hospital, he told her the truth and she went apeshit on him, beating him once again into an inch of his life. She screamed at him for being such a dumbass that he mentally scarred a little kid who already had problems. In the end, after she healed him of course and got the full story, she shook her head before going out to search for the kid as well. However, they couldn't find him and that worried her. They just hoped he would show up on the day of the finals. Then came Jiraiya's other problem. He had been requested by Inoichi to train his daughter, Ino. The man, however, did threaten the sage that if he was caught peeping on his daughter, he would suffer a fate worse than death. And coming from a mind walker, Jiraiya believed it. So all month, he was stuck training Ino while also looking behind his back in case Tsunade or another woman thought he was doing something perverted. And even though he was a somewhat serious teacher helping her with her new hair techniques, she still found out he was a major pervert from a simple book her father had. It led to her teasing and making fun of him. Still, he managed to get on her good side, so maybe, just maybe, he had found a new student. It was not like Minato needed him anymore and he truly doubted Naruto wanted him to teach him. Turning his head, Jiraiya looked down to the arena floor and saw all the contestants were there except for Naruto himself. That worried the sage even more. Where could Naruto be? If the boy didn't come soon, he was sure Tsunade would kill him for it. XXX. Down in the arena, Kaoru looked around and said, "Where is Naruto? I haven't seen him all month." Faye, he probably wizened up and cut his loses. Menma sneered, catching the attention of the other contestants. "The fuck is your problem with him?" Kuretsuchi asked, getting annoyed again by being in his presence. "Only the strong survive in this world and the weak should just die or be killed off, and he is the weakest person I know and is a member of my family. It is not tolerated," Menma stated, getting an annoyed look from his sister and disbelieving one from the others, except for Gaara. He didn't show any emotion, but even he knew that wasn't the truth. Before Menma could say anything more, there was a poof of smoke, catching their attention. The wind blew it away, showing the figure it was enshrouding. The figure wore steel-toed black boots with the pant legs of a pair of black pants tucked in it, and attached the pants were a shuriken holster and a kunai holder. Then, there was the zipped-up white hoodie that figure wore. It had a silver stripe going down each of the sleeves with the cuffs having the same silver lining, and it had the same lining on the bottom and on the hood, which was pulled up, hiding the face from view. Next was a metal gauntlet of sort on the figure's right hand that looked like it was put together like a puzzle. "Who are you?" the proctor, a man named Genma, asked. "Naruto," the figure said, pulling the hood down to reveal his face, which looked a little more angular now. "What happened to Heie? He had an accident and is in the hospital. Now that you are here, I will see if the Hokage is ready." With that, Genma disappeared. XXX. Up in the cage box, sat 4 out of the 5 cages of the land. The Hokage, Minato Namikaze, the Tsuchikage, Onoki, the Kage, Gaara's father, and the Mizukage, Yagura. Up until now, they had just been idly chatting to kill the time. But when Onoki saw Naruto appear, he smiled. In Kuretsuchi's letters from the boy, he had learned that Naruto had been taking his training serious, but he hid his abilities and said he would wait until the Chunin exams, all in an effort to throw it in his parents' faces. And Onoki loved it. "Oh good, your oldest has arrived. I was starting to worry that he had picked his sensei's bad habit of being late." Onoki replied. "I am very glad hasn't." Minato replied with a frown. Onoki looked at the man out of the corner of his eye and thought, "So you are starting to fight the hatred infection? I wonder if it is too late. Should we begin then?" The Kage asked, his veil gone, showing that he did look like an older version of Gaara. "That would be nice." The young voice of Yagura replied with boredom laced in it. Very well. Minato replied before standing up to address the village. Welcome once again to the Chunin exam finals. At this the crowd roared. From her seat next to Makoto, Kushina smiled. Let the tournament begin. XXX. Well, that was quick. Genma muttered as he reappeared next to the contestants. Alright, the first match is between Keiru of Konoha and Kuretsuchi of Aiwa, the rest need to go to the contestant box. As the others made their way to the box, Genma was starting to sweat because the two girls were glaring at each other and sending out a fair amount of ki. Okay, begin, he said before disappearing. Hey, I doubt me trying piss you off will work like it did with that Choji kid. Kuretsuchi replied with a smirk. That's right, Keiru returned with her own smirk. But I can think of only one thing, I am still going to make your brother mine. Kuretsuchi stated like it was fact. And I said no, Keiru replied with a glare before the two charged at one another. Keiru brought out the Rajan, forcing the Aiwa Kunoichi to block with a kunai, which in hindsight, was not the best plan for her as the lightning blade electrified the kunai and numbed her arm to the point it was useless for the time being. Fuck. Kuretsuchi roared before jumping back, hoping to put some distance between them. Not going to work. Water style. Jetstream bullets. Keiru shouted as she forcibly ripped the water out of the air and made it circle her fists for a second before punching out multiple times, sending out tailed jets of water straight at the Aiwa Kunoichi. Damn, she is making this hard, but it is my own fault. Kuretsuchi muttered as she managed to perform a few one-handed seals. Lava style. Rebound wall. She called out and stomped on the ground, sending her energy into it. The ground shook violently before exploding outward into a spiky wall of orange rubber. The jets of water hit the wall, and then bounced off harmlessly. Kuretsuchi then smiled brightly, catching the red-headed girl off. My turn. Lava style. Rubber funhouse. Rubber what? Keiru asked as Kuretsuchi was then cloaked by her own rubber and then the rest shot out at her. Luckily Keiru managed to dodge the volley of rubber spikes, but then she felt pain. Pain from the rubber bouncing off the walls and trees, and even if they lost their edges, they still hurt like hell because of the blunt force trauma that impacted her. XXX. Well, I honestly thought Keiru was winning. Yagura stated. While it is amazing she managed to pull water out of the air like that and at such a young age, she still could have ended the fight quickly if she electrified those jetstream bullets and fired from different angles. True, but she is just a genin, Jinchuriki or not. Minato started. He was glad she was doing such a good job. Of course he and Kushina had only taught her and Menma a few ninja techniques before the academy and focused more on her Jinchuriki training. She was still doing good and he was proud of her. Still, I am glad Kakashi trained her well. Hey, let's see if she has the skills to survive my granddaughter's rubber funhouse. Onoki replied. Indeed, that jutsu looks brutal. The case cage replied with a wince when Keiru was struck in the back. XXX. Yeah, that looked like it hurt. Naruto replied with a wince when he saw Keiru get hit in the back. Agreed, but if she can't face this, then she is as weak as you. Menma replied knowing that he could take this jutsu out. Naruto stared at the raven-haired boy for a moment and then shook his head. XXX. Arg. Keiru screamed as another rubber ball hit her, tearing at her clothes just a bit. Even if she had accelerated healing as an Uzumaki and as a Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, it hurt like hell to have her bones broken so easily and then repaired just as quickly, only for it to happen again in a few seconds. Thankfully, the jutsu had its limit with Kuretsuchi's chakra. The Aiwa Kunoichi knew that the jutsu cost her a lot chakra, but it was worth it to wear out her opponent, even if just a little. She was already at a large disadvantage with her arm being uselessly numb, but now she has used up too much chakra. Keiru saw this and smirked tiredly. So you are at your chakra limit while I am at my pain limit. That's good because as a Jinchuriki, I have plenty of chakra. Water style. Pulsation. Keiru sent a chakra pulse out in the air before it returned to her and then it pulsed into the ground. Kuretsuchi felt then pulse and then another and another. It was like a mini earthquake and she had a hard time keeping her balance. Eventually, she fell on all fours and panicked. That panic came from the fact the ground had become so soggy that it was just muck and mud that clung to and held her in place. With the ground as soggy as it is, I doubt I could pull off my last new jutsu. The Iwa Kunoichi thought sadly. In her condition, she knew she couldn't fight her way out of the muck that held her down. So there was only one option. With a sad smile, she said, "All right, I give up." "Huh," came the intelligent reply from her opponent as she stopped her jutsu and the ground quickly dried up, freeing Kuretsuchi. "I know my limits. After that lightning blade numbed my arm to uselessness, I had to use one-handed hand seals to perform those jutsu. I just learned how to do that, so it took a lot of effort and chakra. That wiped me out, and when you used that pulse jutsu, I didn't have the energy to fight it. Well, to still put up a good fight, those rubber balls really hurt." Keiru replied as he rubbed her back. The redhead walked over to her opponent and held out her hand. "Come on, let's let the other fight so we can rest." Kuretsuchi smiled tiredly. "Some rest would be nice," she replied, taking the hand before the two girls trudged their way up to the contestant box, never noticing that the crowd had been dead silent at the display of good sportsmanship. "I am still not giving up on him though." Keiru just groaned. Now it is you and Hinata both." Genma just shook his head with a smile. Well, it would seem that Keiru Namikaze won that one. Slowly, the crowd started to clap. It wasn't every day they saw two ninja act friendly after a fight. They loved it. XXX. Minato chuckled. "Yeah, I can see her doing that," he said, referring to his daughter being a good winner and helping her opponent off the field. "That was nice of her." Onoki grunted. "Still, that last just was interesting." Indeed, she used the leftover saturated air and pumped it in the ground, using what was in the ground as well for her jutsu. "Amazing," Yagura praised. "Wish some of my own ninja were that good." "Well, you can't have her." Minato laughed, making the childlike Mizukage grunt in annoyance. XXX. Our next fight consists of Menma of Konoha and Tamari of Suna. Genma announced. Tamari decided to use her fan to float down to the arena. When she got down to the ground, she turned and looked expectantly at the contestant box, more specifically, Menma. Menma chuckled to himself, trying to show off two can play at that game hot stuff. With that he turned crimson before he evaporated away. Down in the arena, Menma appeared in a swirl of blood. A blood shunshin. Well, this should be interesting. Tamari replied. She knew she was pretty good with her wind element, but Menma hadn't shown much of his skill with the power of blood. This could be a real challenge. Genma looked between the two show-offs and sighed. Begin. With that, he disappeared again. Menma, not wanting to waste time, cut open his palms, letting the blood flow freely, while at the same time, catching Tamari off guard somewhat. That was what he wanted as he quickly rushed her, the blood on his hands forming spikes. Taking a swipe at the girl, he missed as she used her flexibility to dodge backwards. Tamari then fully unfolded her fan. Wind style. Wind scythe jutsu. Said move bashed Menma high into the air and then begun to slice into him from all angles, making his blood fly everywhere. Despite all the pain the wind blades were causing him, he was smiling painfully. Stupid move girl, he shouted as he fell, but his blood stayed where it was. Blood style. Crimson rain. What? Tamari shouted as the blood took on the shapes of thousands of needles. How could I have been so stupid? I had hoped that if he lose enough blood, that he wouldn't have much energy left to fight. Damn it, blood jutsu coming from a Jinchuriki is insane. Wind style. Cyclone wall. The jutsu formed a high-powered cyclone around her and forcefully scattered the blood away from her. Once it died down, she saw Menma just standing there with his arms crossed and a condescending smile on his face. Hey, try all you want girl, you can't beat me. Want to know why? Because you are weak, Menma replied. Plus you are fighting me, the Jinchuriki of the dark half of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. There is nothing stronger than me. Oh shut up you self-righteous prick. Tamari raged. Throughout her time in Konoha, she had heard a lot about Menma and some of the population liked him, but most thought it was a prick who needed get taken down a peg, or 10. And she was willing to do so. She just hoped the new jutsu she had been working on worked. After all, blood couldn't form a defense, right? So go ahead, I'll give you a free shot. Give me your worst, Menma shouted back, completely ignoring the blonde Suna Kunoichi's words. XXX. Minato frowned. He had been gaining control the more and more he fought the influence that pitted him against Naruto. He noticed that he had spoiled Menma, which led to his current attitude. But there was something else in Menma that he noticed. Did he really force a mindset on the boy to make him think that if he was strong, he would be loved, and that if he was weak, then he would be rejected? Why? Onoki looked at his neighbor and nodded to himself. The young gun was finally seeing his actions. Hopefully Naruto actually broke Minato away from the virus. Gaara's father smirked. Well, it would seem the boy shows no true values. But I doubt he will survive my daughter's strongest jutsu. What do you mean? Minato asked, broken out of his inner thoughts. Just look and you will see one of the most powerful wind jutsu at work. The Kage replied as they saw Temari create a windstorm all around her until it started to shrink and then condensed around her hand in a ring-like form. The wind had gotten so dense that it glowed white. XXX. Wind style. Pressure damage. Temari shouted as the ring shifted into a ball, which she then hit with her folded-up fan like a bat and ball, sending it to Menma's still smirking form until it exploded in his face. The result was a fairly large ball of condensed wind energy exploding all around him, creating a crater as it ground itself into the ground. However, it was small, only a few feet wide all around, but the power was still there and everyone felt it. When the technique died down, Temari paled at what she saw. Instead of the hoped smear on the ground, Menma stood there, still as a statue. At least, she thought it was Menma because in his place was a tall figure with void black skin. His clothes barely looked ripped as they too were covered in that same blackness, same with his hair. What really scared her though was that his eyes were blood red with slits in them and his teeth had all sharp to look very pointy and there were no lips. Hey, is that it? Menma asked with a raspy voice. I told you that you couldn't beat me. At Temari's questioning look, as well as the general confusion of the audience, he decided to enlighten them. This form you see is me covering myself with large amounts of my own blood and then hardening it with the iron in it to the point it can resist any attacks. At this, Temari knew she didn't stand a chance. And you know what else? It is a great conductor. Menma replied, his creepy smile growing wider as red lightning sparked off his form before he disappeared in a zigzag streak of lighting. The next thing Temari knew was Menma's fist buried in her gut, knocking the wind out of her and sent a powerful shock through her system. Letting out a silent scream, she fell to the ground at Menma's feet. Genma appeared on the scene, checking to make sure Temari was okay. Thankfully, she was still alive, but she was knocked out. Looking back Menma, he saw this blood armor receding back into his various cuts, which then sealed themselves up. Well, Menma wins. The crowd applauded, making the boy feel smugger as he made his way back to the contestant box as a medical team took Temari away. Will Naruto and Ino come down to the arena? Your fight is next. XXX. Naruto frowned as he walked down the wall of the arena while Ino used the stairwell. Beating Menma was going to be more of a challenge than he thought. That blood armor was something else, but so was that pressure jutsu of Temari's. Oh well, he had another fight to do first before he thought up a plan to beat his brother. Looking around, he noticed that he was already on the arena floor and standing a few feet away from an annoyed-looking Ino. His eyes then traveled to the crowd, spotting his mother not really paying attention as she chatted with Makoto. He then eyed Jiraiya. He hated that man and his offer for training was just insulting. Good thing the monkeys summoned him when they did. Finally, his eyes traveled to the cage box, where he saw his father giving him his full attention. Looking back at Ino, he wondered how much he would have to reveal when he fought her. However, he did notice that her hair was longer than before. What could that be about? Genma smiled as Ino was glaring at the lazy look Naruto was giving her. This should be good. Begin. With that, he took his leave. What's with that look, Naruto? You think this is just as troublesome as my teammate? Ino asked and mentally smirked when she heard a sneeze of a certain someone up in the stands. Naruto smiled a lazy smile. Maybe, but you aren't very strong, being a fangirl and all. That did it as Ino's face went red with anger. I'll have you know I actually trained for this fight. Ino shouted. That perverted old sage, Jiraiya, trained me thanks to my daddy. Naruto frowned at that as a dark glint shined in his eye. Oh really? Naruto replied, his laziness gone, catching the attention of a few people in the audience. "Are you jealous that I got training from a legend even if he is a pervert?" Ino stated with a smirk, ignoring said teacher shout that he was a super pervert from the audience. "Or are you jealous that a beautiful girl like me went after hotter guys like Sasuke and your brother?" Naruto chuckled darkly. "No, I am not interested in shallow girls like you, and as for Jiraiya, I am nothing to people like him." As he said that, Ino shivered at the creepy tone he used to say that. Up in the stands, Tsunade let loose a tear. She didn't get to comment on it either because Naruto had enough talking and sprang into action by launching a volley of chakra balls into the air. Ino saw the ball of chakra freeze for a second, and that was all she needed. Ninja art. Needle Jizo. Her hair flowed all around her before hardening, shielding her from the barrage of chakra balls. As the smoke started to clear, Ino smirked and said, "Ninja art, needle hell." The hair all around her suddenly went on end and shot straight at Naruto's position. "Hey, too easy," Naruto replied as he formed a ball of chakra in front of his chest. He then threw it forward and it expanded into that of a shield of sorts. The hair needles bounced harmlessly off it. "Oh come on," Ino growled, hoping to have won already. "Fine, try dodging this." Ninja art. Gauntlet of hair. Her hair flew all around her before parts of it flowed around her arms all the way to her fists, creating golden gauntlets. With those formed, she rushed him in straight-up hand-to-hand combat that he was pretty good with. Despite that, he quickly learned that he should be dodging instead of batting away the golden fists because they could form spikes that made his hands bleed. Damn, at this rate I will need to reveal more, but what could I get away with? Maybe a little light show. Maybe a mind battle. As he was thinking of a way to end this quickly, Ino already had a plan and used the hair not being used for the gauntlets, sending chakra to them to control them like tentacles. A strand snuck around Naruto's foot and flung him into the air, where she released the gauntlets and used all her hair to trap him by his arms and legs while bringing him in close. "I win," she replied. Ninja art. Mind transfer jutsu. It was just that easy, but she did wonder why Naruto was smirking. In the mindscape, Ino found herself in a dimly lit room, unsure of where she was. She was supposed to have landed near Naruto's central operation and take control. This place was not it. Hearing movement behind her, she saw her opponent leaning on the wall, but his eyes were red. "I am not the one you need to worry about." The red-eyed blonde chuckled before disappearing. "Huh," she replied before she was propelled into a chair, which latched onto her with metal bands. "Ino, this is my world," Naruto said as he appeared on the scene with his normal blue eyes. "You shouldn't have entered it. Now, be gone." He merely poked her head and she thought she was going to go back onto her own body just like that. Oh, how wrong she was. She felt a falling sensation and looked behind her to see that she was indeed falling from a very high cliff. This was not something anyone would expect, and she did the natural thing, scream. That scream turned worse and terror and panic filled it when she saw the bottom and saw Naruto there waiting for her with a glowing katana in hand. The next thing she knew was the feeling of being run through with it in her stomach and her chair gone. Then Naruto spun around and flung her off his blade into a black abyss where a giant red face was waiting to swallow her up. Back in the real world, Ino screamed as she was blown away from Naruto by a psychic blast of some kind and into the arena wall. People couldn't understand what happened. One moment, Ino looked like she was about to win with Naruto stuck in her hair, literally. And as she just went into his mind, she screamed and was blown away somehow into the wall. Next, Naruto was already upon her with a bluish-purple katana knot made of chakra in hand and stuck her in the stomach with it, pinning her to the wall with it. It was at this point, Ino regained herself and looked down to see the blade still stuck in her and that she was back in the real world. "No, I think I win, Ino." She looked at him in terror, not able to see how he had such good mental defenses that he messed with her instead of the other way around. "Oh okay, I give up." "Okay then," Naruto replied simply, releasing her by dissipating the blade. "So, psionic energy now," he thought before walking away while Genma checked on Ino, letting the medics take her away and calling the match in Naruto's favor, which made the crowd boom in applause and praise even if the ending confused them. XXX. Minato stared intently at his oldest son. What he had done was pretty impressive to reverse the mind transfer jutsu. However, it confused him on what he exactly did. Impressive, Onoki stated, a little depressed that the boy didn't use the dust style. Indeed, and I heard as the black sheep of you family, Yagura stated, eyeing the boy the same way he did Keiru. I wonder why. The boy is powerful in his own right. The Cage stated. The more Minato thought about it, the more he hated his old actions. Naruto had been a baby when the attack happened. How could it be his fault? Why did I blame Naruto for it? Minato felt a sudden pulse and lurched forward, thinking he was going to be sick. He couldn't explain it, but he felt a little freer for some reason. Onoki himself felt that pulse because he was next to the man and knew what to look for and smiled. XXX. He did pretty well, Makoto stated, happy for Naruto. Kushina just shrugged, so he beat a fangirl. Big deal. Makoto frowned. She had training from Jiraiya of all people, you should be proud. Kushina just gave her a bored look, making her best friend drop it for now. However, Makoto did notice something odd. The redhead froze for a second, her eyes shifting from their violet color to that of a dark red. To be honest, it scared her since she knew her longtime best friend no longer had the Kyuubi in her. While the moment had passed, the being inside Kushina was not happy. It had lost control of Minato and a few others forever. They had questioned why they had an unnatural hatred of the boy. This was not good because if it continued, it would lose control over Kushina. XXX. Faye, so you won against a stronger than normal fangirl, doesn't make you strong. Menma grunted as Naruto entered the box. Naruto just gave him a bored look. It is not like I was fighting for your approval. That seemed to anger the black and red-haired boy as he suddenly slammed Naruto against the wall of the contestant box. You piece of shit. You are nothing in this world, and when I make Hokage, I will slaughter weak people like you. Careful Menma, an attitude like that will only get you killed. Naruto replied with a dangerous tone, however, he was unnerved by the red-eyed stare of the boy. Menma felt something poking him and looked down to see that Naruto had positioned a kunai to where his liver would be, making him pale. Before he could reply, Genma announced the winner of the next round. Winner, Shino Aburame. Wait, what? Menma spouted. I didn't even see the match start. Because you were threatening your brother. Gaara replied in his usual monotone. The one you call Shino sent his swarm of bugs at the Hyuga, quickly taking away his chakra. Well, that's unexpected, Naruto replied, getting nods from the others. Genma saw the two off the arena and then called, will Gaara of Suna and Akatsuchi of Iwa come down to the arena, you fight is next. Gaara immediately sent Sunshine down to the arena, eager to feed his mother. Akatsuchi on the other hand stayed where he was. He leaned over the railing and said, I forfeit. I don't have the necessary skills to take him down after what I saw him do to that spandex-wearing Leaf Zenin. Genma nodded. That is fine, so winner by forfeit is Gaara of Suna. Gaara was not amused, but simply sent Sunshine back to the contestant box. Alright then, our next fight will be a little different. Genma started catching everyone's attention. It will be a three-way between Naruto, Keiru, and Menma. Please come down to the arena for your fight. Hey, get ready to die, Menma stated as he disappeared in another blood shunshin. Keiru sighed before heading down in a water shunshin. Naruto smiled. How was going to top that? Maybe he could pull off a glimpse what he would use in this fight. Yes, that would be perfect. His smile widened when he nearly closed his eyes, and when he opened them, he was in the arena behind his siblings and Genma. Where is he? Keiru asked. Probably going to wimp out like that Iwa shinobi, Menma stated, noticing the crowd murmuring about how Naruto just appeared. I am right here, Naruto stated, making the three jump a bit. Wait, what? Keiru shouted. Genma just eyed him while Menma got over the surprise and stopped caring. Well, that was quick. If you are all ready, you may begin, he said, not wanting to be there. Genma wasn't sure what Naruto could truly do, but he had seen plenty of his siblings' battles that it was going to get dangerous. Menma turned to Naruto, completely ignoring his sister, and smiled dangerously. Are you ready to die, brother? Are you planning on killing me? Naruto asked with a bored expression while Keiru looked concerned. I meant what I said, that when I become Hokage, I will slaughter all the weak fools like you. The only thing that matters in this world is strength, and you are weak. So yes, I plan to kill you and there will be nothing you can do. Menma, you can't be serious. You are talking about killing your own family. Kaoru shouted, the crowd's murmurs following her discomfort. Yes, I am, and if you are sliding with him like you always do, then you are next. Menma sneered. Well, I am sorry, but I can't do this. I won't fight you if all you want to do is slaughter. Kaoru screamed before walking off the arena floor. I want no part of this. As she walked away, she turned back to look at Naruto for a moment with a worried look. She hoped he was going to be okay, but she had fought with him, so she felt confident that he was going to be okay. Fine with me. Menma sneered. I'll kill her later then. He then rushed Naruto with a speed not previously used before. If anyone looked closely enough, they would see that his feet were encased in that black armor made of blood and coursing with red lightning. Naruto only had enough time to erect his energy field to slow down Menma, but the speedster just broke through and pounded Naruto into the ground before he used his foot to lift the blonde into the air and then violently kick him away. Naruto coughed hard and he got back up. He had not expected that at all. If he was going to win this, then he had to go all out. No more holding back. Menma appeared above his brother's down form. He was a little impressed that Naruto was managing to get back up after that, but the blonde was still going to die. However, he calmly waited until the blonde got back up to fight. What he wasn't expecting to see was that Naruto was smiling when he looked at Menma. Naruto merely raised a hand and said, "Flash." Arg. Menma shouted in pain as he was blinded by a very bright flash of light. He was further put in pain when Naruto rushed him with his dust-style taijutsu, tearing away his flesh with each punch and kick. The blonde finished by blasting him away with a few well-placed balls of chakra. Thankfully for Menma, he had a higher than normal healing factor, so he was able to get back up while in pain. Blinking away the pain and the light affecting his vision, he glared at the blonde. That was cheap, and cheap tricks won't help you win. We are ninja, we use all that we can to win. Naruto shot back with an annoying smirk. Like this, for example, dust style, particle storm. Naruto smiled as the ground wiped up as particles of dust formed large clouds all over the arena. What a useless jutsu. Repulsion. Menma stated as he used a wind jutsu to push away the dust around him. Maybe, Naruto stated with a calm voice, but it can be used for different purposes. Like going into your body and destroying it from the inside out. At this, Menma did pale a bit. But I have a different method I want to use. Light style. Helios stare. Naruto held up the hand that let him blind Menma with a single point. The hand glowed glow, but Menma had learned and turned his head. What he didn't expect was for the entire arena to light up in blinding light as Naruto used his power over light to reflect off all the particles of dust and intensify it. It was a bit too much for even the audience as they had to turn away, but for Menma, was blinded once more and unable to do anything about it. Naruto took that as his advantage as he brought up his hood and rushed the red and black-haired boy. He brought both hands to his sides and wide arc as hidden blades popped out of his wrists. Adding wind chakra to them, he sliced into Menma multiple times with each swipe blowing away the dust and the light. When the light died down, the crowd gasped when they saw state Menma was in. He had deep gashes all around his body and Naruto's fist was embedded in his stomach with his wind blade clearly visible on the other side of his body. Naruto merely grunted. No brother, it won't be me that dies today. Naruto stated as his wind blade dissipated and he let Menma's body fall to the floor before backing away. He knew this wasn't over. After all, Menma still had not used the power of the Kyuubi. The red and black-haired boy began to chuckle as he indeed got back up. That chuckle turned into a full-blown roar of laughter. You fool, you can't kill me. No wonder mom and dad hate you. You are weak and stupid. Naruto once again had a bored look on his face that people were beginning to see that was the face he used to deal with Menma's verbal abuse. I have always wondered why you hold so much hate for me. You want to know why? Menma roared as his wounds closed up. I thought it would have been obvious. The third Hokage sealed the Kyuubi into both me and Kaoru. Our parents obviously saw more worth in us than you and cast you aside like the worthless trash you are. Jiraiya obviously saw the same as he told our parents to completely disregard you and focus on us. This, Jiraiya turned away in sadness. He had truly fucked up if his decision had affected Menma as well. He felt the glares sent his way, including Tsunade's, making him feel even worse. For that reason, they thought you were completely a waste of time and space, even as a child. So I came to the conclusion that if I ever was as weak as you and the others in this pathetic village, that I would be cast aside like you. I won't have that, Menma roared, shocking many at his way of thinking. So to amend that, I would become stronger than them all and kill the weaklings when I became the leader of this place. Then they would all see my true worth and then I would never be cast aside. XXX. Minato let loose tears as he sat back in his chair. Had he been that blind? Had he really forced that way of thinking on Menma? Keiru never showed that way of thinking, so why him? Onoki looked at the boy and shook his head. The hatred virus might not be in him, but he was affected by it just like Naruto was. It was rather sad. The Kage sighed sadly. He was a horrible father because he tried imparting some of that ideology on his own son. Yagura subtly nodded his head at something and smiled down on the raging body. XXX. Kushina was shaking, something that Makoto noticed, but didn't say anything. Kushina needed to see what her actions brought about. However, Kushina was fighting with herself. A part of her liked how Menma was acting and how he treated Naruto. That was the virus at work. The other part was the real her, breaking down that her actions had caused a very large rift in her family. XXX. That's why, I can't allow you to live. Menma roared as Kyuubi's chakra burst all around him. Ninja art, 9 masked beasts. A cross-like symbol appeared in front of Menma with ninja points giving on a name in kanji. As it took away the Kyuubi's chakra, the symbol burst into ninja smoke. When it cleared, 9 figures were behind Menma. All these masked beasts had one thing in common. A 3-eyed fox mask with a kanji on the middle eye. The first creature was a dragon that resembled a seahorse, with the symbol for azure. The second was a lean and slender, white tiger with the symbol for white. The third was a bird with elegant and dramatic plumage. It had the symbol for vermilion. The fourth was a tortoise with a shell made of overlapping plates and the symbol for black. The fifth was a massive serpent with golden scale and the symbol for sky. The sixth was an angelic priestess with flowing robes and translucent pink ribbons with the symbol for jewel. The seventh was a priest that resembled a skeleton and carried a scythe. It had the symbol for 3. The 8th and 9th were a pair of priests with fox staves. They had the symbols for north and south. Menma had a manic smile on his face when he said, "Kill him." His own paranoia was finally getting to him and it was coming out in full blast. The dragon and serpent struck first as they tried taking a bit out of the blonde. Said blonde jumped over their forms as they passed under him. Using his power over wind, he created a spear of wind that pinned the two together on the ground, and as their heads came back around to finish him, he extended his hidden blades filled with wind chakra and sliced right into their masks. The result of their defeat made them turn into dead-looking masked foxes. They dissipated in Kyuubi's chakra. The turtle and tiger came at him next, but smirked as he opened both palms toward them, revealing the seal-hidden Sharingans, and with them, he was able to trick them into killing each other. The bird then snatched him up high into the air, but Naruto went intangible with his arms and climbed to the bird back and sliced off its wings, forcing it to crash to the ground. As Naruto was falling, the skeleton and the priestess came at him. Naruto created a whip of light that stole the Reaper's scythe and sliced the priestess in half before Naruto embedded the blade in the Reaper's skull. The next thing he knew, the blonde was trapped in a purple barrier created by the two priests like beasts with the fox staves, and he thought he subconsciously heard chirping birds. "Oh please," Naruto muttered, knowing that this couldn't hold him. Dust style. Detachment of the primitive world jutsu. He called out within the barrier as he himself went intangible as the technique created a perfect sphere that grew to the point that it encircled the barrier and the two priests. The result was Naruto, once again solid, standing in the middle of disintegrating chakra constructs. Crimson Chidori. Menma's shout caught Naruto by surprise as he turned around just in time for a red lightning blade to pass through his shoulder, blood and gore raining behind him. XXX. Hey, I could have stopped it there, but that would be evil. As Naruto began to fight for real, it had really surprised the Kages. He was doing very well, and his use of light-based jutsu was a new way to take the battlefield by storm. Minato was proud of his son, but he was depressed that he had pushed the boy away to the point that when he offered Naruto training, he refused. Minato suspected that Naruto got the dust-style jutsus from Onoki, who was beaming at the boy in pride. Then Naruto goes and takes out those 9 masked beasts that Menma created through the use of Kyuubi's chakra, which was pretty threatening for people not prepared for something like that. Still, Naruto easily dispatched them like they were nothing, proving to him that he above Chunin level already. That much was for sure when he could manipulate wind like it was nothing. But that last jutsu, how did he survive being in his own jutsu? Dust style was supposed to destroy everything in it. If he still had his mindset from before, he would have stopped the match to oust him as a traitor for using the masked man's jutsu. Now, he just wondered how he gained it to be able to use it with dust style. However, terror soon set in his heart when his youngest and most disturbed son stuck a chidori through his oldest and neglected son's chest. Naruto. He yelled along with a few others like Keiru, Tsunade, Kuretsuchi, and others. XXX. Kakashi was visibly shaking. From rage or sadness, he was unsure, but he now regretted his decision to teach Menma the chidori. When he was told to train the boy for the month, he had no idea how truly disturbed the boy was. Now it was clear as day. From his position, he saw that Kushina was in hysterics as she held her head in her hands in panic as a strange aura was storming all around her, Makoto not being able to do anything. He also looked to the contestant box to see Keiru had visible tears streaming down her face. XXX. Naruto coughed out blood as he slumped forward on Menma's now blood arm. The black and red-haired boy was partially embracing his brother, the gravity of his actions finally catching up to him. He had gone through with his threat and put a fist through his brother. His mind couldn't actually handle it because he had never truly hated his brother. I'm sorry, but this was the only way. Menma choked out, the crowd deathly silent. Mom and Dad hate you and I never questioned it, just went along with it, but I still love you. So I thought that killing you would give you the peace you needed. I'm so sorry. Menma's logic was so flawed and it angered Naruto. Menma saw that their parents had no love for Naruto, so he berated him every chance he got. He threatened with death because he was weak. His logic told him to kill Naruto to end his suffering instead of being there for his brother. What utter bullshit. You, Naruto croaked out as his face twisted into that of utter rage and he just lost control, fucking monster. He screamed out, chaos drive activating in a burst of power that ripped Menma out of him and across the arena ground. Naruto faintly heard the laughter of his darker self as his wound rapidly healed and his anger grew. However, when he saw the look of shock on Menma's face, he turned his head to the crowd to see their own shocked expression. Oddly enough, Kushina had stilled and was just staring at him, those red eyes staring into his own now red irises. The laughter came back, making Naruto hold his head as he forced the power back inside of him. It may have saved him this time, but it was still weakening him if he used it. He heard a roar of anger when he fully suppressed it. What the fuck was that? Menma shouted. Seeing now alternative route, Naruto decided to just spill his guts about it and his little plan. That is the Kyuubi's chakra that was transferred over to me when we were still in Mother. At first, I thought that it was the reason our parent hated me, but that just seemed stupid and they were focusing only on you and Keiru, but I guess I could be wrong since I never found out the true reason they hated me. Now, they say you learn everything you need to know in the first 5 years of your life, and that was the conclusion I came to. I just didn't know why they hated me. So as they completely focused on you too, I learned how to do everything on my own. I even had to get my own clothes and food. Soon, I figured that if I wanted to become a ninja, I had to train on my own because our parents didn't feel I was worthy of their training, only you two. That especially rang true when that bastard Jiraiya told you all a little prophecy that completely shut the door with me being in their lives. It was thanks to Tsunade, Shizune, Itachi, and Asuma that I was able to mold myself into a competent ninja, and I was able to create just you through seals that let me do that things I do. One in particular was made in case father ever got the idea that he wanted me dead. I created Ghost Step if he ever decided to kill me using his famous jutsu, the Hiraishin, Naruto explained as he ripped off his shift and hoodie now that they were completely useless to him, revealing the seals on his back, the scar caused by Menma and the metal on his arms where his hidden blades came from. But you know, I thought that if they really didn't want me in that family, I would leave and no one would ever notice. I was right, Naruto stated. We all got an allowance and access to the clan's finances, and took little amounts that let me eventually buy my own place, and since no one really noticed I was gone most of the time, I was never questioned as to where I was. They obviously didn't care. Naruto smiled. This next part was sure to bring this home. Finally, I went to the Hokage after a very busy day and gave him a few pieces of paper under a genjutsu and asked them to sign them for me. I said it was for a few friends that wanted his autograph. That was a lie. One was for my emancipation from the clan and the next was for the creation of a new clan. From that point on, my name has been Naruto Ranmyaku, Maelstrom of Chaos, and I did this in an effort to prove that I am not worthless, that I am not nothing. XXX. Dead silence. That was what the arena sounded like when Naruto finished his story. There was a few people that knew of Naruto plan, but not the whole village. Whilst the village had been on his side, they never knew how bad it was for Naruto. Now they knew and were glad for him. Their trust and respect in the Hokage was severely damaged. Kushina was thinking how horrible a mother she had been while the virus was rather surprised at the route he took. Most people would have cut their loss and left and they would never have been the wiser, but this kid had such a strong will that he formed an extensive plan just to prove them wrong, and it felt its hold on its host weaken considerably. Kushina hugged herself. Why did I do it? She cried out loud, catching Makoto's and those around her attention. They saw the sparking aura grow violent and moved back a bit. Why? He was just a baby. How could we think he had a connection to that masked man that unleashed the Kyuubi? Ba-bum. Again, the pulse came about, now freeing her from the virus, but it was so strong that it shook everything around her and her previous aura just seemed to fizzle out now that it had no power over her. The hatred virus frowned in the recesses of Kushina's mind. It no longer had control and couldn't generate hatred, but it was fine. It had collected all that it needed for its master. Now it just needed to find an opportunity to leave and return to its master's lapdog, that masked man. Maybe it could take the power within Naruto to amp its abilities. XXX. The Hokage felt relief when he found that his son wasn't going to die, but that power was truly problematic. It reeked of evil and it seemed that Naruto had a hard time suppressing it. When he heard Naruto's story, he felt nothing but shame as he left out a sob. He had failed. Onoki looked sadly at the man, but Minato needed to hear all that. The Kazekage and Yagura looked at each other, nodded. XXX. Menma smiled sadly. So you did all that and became stronger in your own right. I really am sorry. So you want to change now, Faye? Naruto grunted. I am done with that fight. Show me all that power you have. We'll see who is more powerful. I doubt that power you used earlier is enough to beat me when I use Kyuubi's energy, a weakling. Menma replied with a slight smirk. He was still in his old mindset after all, but he felt that he messed up and need to change. It just wasn't going to be instant. You are right, it actually weakens me, so I recently gained something else. Sage mode. Monkey sage mode to specific. Naruto replied as went still before his chest and arms grew hair, his eyes went a dark yellow, and he grew a monkey tail. Oh, that's new. Menma replied before smirking. Let's see how it fares against me then. Menma's blood armor returned as it generated red lightning and Kyuubi's chakra. Then he held out his palm and one of his new jutsu that he had been working on formed. It was a purple chakra sphere with white wind rings hovering around it. Menma didn't even give Naruto a chance to charge his own attack and rushed him. The blood armor-clad ninja zipped to Naruto using his superior speed and thrust the ball into the blonde. Take this, monkey boy, spiraling ring. Only, he hid nothing as the form in front of him flickered and disappeared. Naruto appeared behind in him the air as he spun, thrusting his right arm at Menma. As he was doing that, the metal on that arm came undone. Blades jutted out until they formed a cone of blades around his fist while other blades spun around his forearm. To top that off, he added wind chakra to the mix, creating a high-powered vortex of spinning blades and wind. Sage art. Vortex Cyclone Shredder. Menma only saw the attack out of the corner of his eye and shivered in fear of it. Mostly because he didn't have the time to dodge. Closing his eyes, he just accepted it. When it was an inch away from the back of his neck, the cage box exploded. XXXXXX. Both boys looked up in shock to the cage box, and then Kiri and Sand Ninja came out of the woodworks to attack everyone. Unfortunately, Naruto's attack never stopped and it was too late to stop it. Naruto did try to pull back, but the damage was already done. Once the point hit the back of Menma's neck, the boy felt himself get battered as the wind in attack stuck him. Thankfully Naruto's pulling back took away most of the damage, but his blood armor lay shattered around his downed form next the wall where he was flung. Damn, that could have been way worse, he said, trying to get back up. However, he felt a jolt of pain and fell back down. Weakly looking around, he saw he was covered in blood and a lot of it was coming from his neck. Okay, this sucks. I really was wrong in thinking he was weak. Well, that does leave me to think on things. Oh, quit your bitching. The Kyuubi roared within his mind. I'll get you healed up, and after this meaningless invasion, you two can kill each other later. Oh, wow, that attack did a lot of damage. This may take a while. Kyuubi, why do you hate Naruto and why did you push me to do it? Menma asked the beast within. Said beast sigh in annoyance. Kid, I am a being of hatred, what do you expect? Your own paranoia was easy to exploit, but I guess I did go too far in egging you on. However, for me, there was something else. That chaos drive of his, it uses my power and it has created a being that was once the bane of our existence. The Ribi, the zero-tailed leech, was once a being created from our own chakra. The leftovers, it was closer to me and so it fed off all types of hatred. It also learned to create hatred to the point that I had to intervene multiple times just to destroy it. So, having enough, I gathered the other Biju and we destroyed it, or so we thought, because over the years, I felt it making a comeback somehow and now another spawn inside your brother. However, I have felt something off about your mother for some time and thought it was just my remaining chakra in her, but no, I know what it is. And don't ask, you will find out on your own if you had been listening. Now shut up and let me work. I am going to have look up this Ribi later. Menma stated. However, Menma didn't get to think or say much else seemingly to himself because Gaara landed next to him with a crazed smile. And what do you want? Menma replied rudely. To feel alive, Gaara shouted. I didn't get my fight, but I am not interested in the dying who won't give me a good fight to the death. No, I want to fight your brother. He knows what power is. To fight only for oneself. I did that out of necessity. Naruto replied calmly, still in his monkey sage mode. I don't do it to needlessly kill others to make me feel alive. Gaara. Tamari shouted and she and Kankuro joined the fight. Stay out of this. Gaara raged. This is my fight. You won't let your siblings fight alongside you? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. No, they only make you weak. But, they seem to care for you unlike my brother. Naruto making Menma flinch a bit. Why refuse their help? It seemed hypocritical to say since Karu often tried to help him, but he wasn't saying anything. I don't need them, they are nothing. I only love myself and fight for myself, I don't need anyone. Gaara screamed, making Kankuro stop in his tracks and stare at the boy while Tamari looked visibly hurt by that declaration. If you say so, but it would seem that I really don't have much of a choice in fighting you, since it would seem your village and the Mist Village are attacking mine. Naruto groaned in annoyance. That's right, once I kill you, I can kill everyone else. Gaara replied in a happy craze before directing that look at Menma, who gulped. After all, he still couldn't move without it causing massive amounts of pain. From the way you speak, you seem to have some people that you fight for. Even if he is not one of them, I will force you to fight me with all your power. Arg. Gaara then used his sand to pin Menma's weakened body to the arena wall. Show me your power. Show me the power of a leaf ninja. Show me the power of your so-called will of fire. Gaara roared as the rest of his sand swirled all around him in a maelstrom made of sand before it died down reveal a mini Shukaku. Naruto gave the new form a deadpan look and said, crap. XXX. Boy, are you alright? Onoki shouted into the smoke that surrounded them. Minato coughed before saying, Yeah, but it seems that from all the chakra activity in the area that we are under attack. You would be correct, Hokage Dono. Came the voice of the childlike Mizukage. Once the smoke cleared, they saw that the roof was in shambles and that the Mizukage was standing alongside the case cage, long ready for a fight. It is us who are attacking you. Terrific. Minato deadpanned before looking to Onoki. Are you on my side still? Well, we are allies now, so I would say yes. You take the Mizukage, I'll take the case cage. Very well. Minato nodded before facing the childlike cage again. You have no idea what you have gotten yourself into. Oh, I think I do. Yagura stated before gesturing to the village. The combined forces of Kiri and Suna are attacking your village, while you only have your ninja and a handful of Iwa ninja. I have made it so no one will interrupt us. All ninja are preoccupied, even your Anbu and sages. How did you manage that? Minato asked curiously. I have some of the best non-bloodline ninja around and I stole an old jutsu of your villages. Yagura replied with a devious smile. Undead ninja are so useful and they are connected to my chakra. Plus, I have my own Jinchuriki, myself and another that has been rather unruly of late, but that has been remedied, along with his little girlfriend. Shit. Minato stated before disappearing in a yellow flash only to reappear behind the Mizukage. He then proceeded to stab the childlike cage in the back, right through the heart, only for him to burst into water. Silly Hokage, I know all about your Hiraishin. I will win this. Yagura stated with mirth before his face took on a serious look and his tone went serious as well. And if I can't, you will have the full might of two-tailed beasts and the fury of the Tsushigumo clan rain down on your pathetic village. Terrific. Minato growled as he sent a Hiraishin kunai at Cage Jinchuriki, who merely smiled. As soon as the man disappeared in a yellow flash, Yagura struck fast. He formed a flat mirror-like structure made out of water and hooked it with his odd double-hooked staff. As soon as Minato reappeared in the spot Yagura thought he would, he made the mirror turn to the man. Minato was shocked that his attack was countered by himself. However, he was the Hokage for a reason and quickly analyzed the technique. It seemed that Yagura managed to create a strange water mirror, and when he had reappeared, a strange clone of himself popped out of the mirror and countered his attack. Oh, this was not good. Now you see why you can't beat me. Yagura stated with a smile. We'll see. Minato stated calmly. After all, he still had other tricks up his sleeve. XXX. Well shit, who knew I would be fighting a smoking hot lady like yourself? Jiraiya commented perversely to his opponent. However, she never spoke one word. In fact, he doubted she could. Her eyes looked dead and unfocused. Her partner the same way. Jiraiya knew the influence of a slave seal when he saw one. Faye couldn't kill them, so you resorted to enslaving the strongest of your opposition, Yagura. Jiraiya commented in disgust as he dodged a large bullet of lava. Don't worry, you two, I'll free you. Jiraiya was of course referring to his opponents, Meiterumi and Ao. XXX. Shizune, you look out and care for the wounded. It would seem that battle for me is unavoidable. Tsunade growled out an order to her assistant and friend. Lady Tsunade, I can fight too. Shizune stubbornly replied. I know. The last Senju stated with a smile, but your true talent lies with helping people. Now go, I got this. Shizune looked like she wanted to argue some more, but deep down, she didn't know if she could fight and survive any of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, even if they had been brought back to life through the second Hokage's jutsu. For standing in front of them were all 7 of the former swordsmen, exceeding Kisame, for his predecessor was in his place. As Shizune left to help the injured, Tsunade turned back to the undead ninja and smirked. Hey, if Kushina could do it, so can I. XXX. When she saw her brothers being confronted by Gaara and seemingly by his siblings, Kaoru moved to help them. However, she was intercepted by 2 other people, who looked dead to the world. However, the male of the 2 looked to be fighting it. Kaoru knew enough about seals to know they were being controlled by slave seals. Fight me, free us. The male, a pale and thin man with gold eyes that looked dead to the world. He also had a long brown hair that covered one eye. He wore a long, light blue kimono adorned with a small emblem of 3 bubbles on the back, and a pair of gray pants underneath, with an orange sash. The kimono hung loose, exposing his chest. The female was a young woman with dark green eyes, a widow's peak, and blonde wavy hair that goes past her shoulders. She wore a light violet and white top, black shorts, a black skirt, black high boots and light violet wristbands. She was also rather short. Kaoru frowned. She had read a book on slave seals and how to get rid of them. This was not going to be easy. Don't worry you two, I'll free you. The male managed to nod his head before the two enslaved people rushed towards Kaoru. Naruto and Menma would have to wait. XXX. Hey dad, this is rather easy now that I have the feeling back in my arm. Kuretsuchi pointed out as her and Kitsuchi took out a few Kiri and Suna ninja that looked to being going after civilians. Kitsuchi snorted. Of course it is kid. Everything is easier when you have full control of your body. Right, now let's show these Konoha ninja how to fight our enemies. Kuretsuchi said before she and her dad took out a platoon of Kiri ninja. XXX. Naruto dodged another blast of sand-enhanced wind made by Gaara. The arena was littered with sandy craters and at some point, Gaara had also at some point trapped his siblings on the same wall as Menma, who just looked pissed. Quit dodging. Hey. Then quit trying to kill me. Naruto retorted. Arg. Gaara screamed before he sped up and trying to make Naruto into paste with both hands. Thankfully Naruto was faster since he managed to dodge out of the way. So far his plan was working. Make Gaara made enough to recklessly waste his chakra, though for a Jinchuriki, that was kind of hard. So, he modified it halfway through the fight. Not that Menma cared, he just wanted out of his sandy confinement. Hurry up weakling. Sand in my wounds is not pleasant you know. Shut the hell up, I got this. Naruto growled as he dodged a hail of sand-made shuriken. He then smiled as he managed to lead Gaara into a ring of craters, with each crater having a custom-made seal dropped into it. Oh Gaara, do you like light? Huh. Gaara snarled out. Ninja art. Judgment. Naruto called with a dark smile. This little jutsu used both the dust in the air to add light to it and blind Gaara in a pillar of light and then activate the seals. With the seal activated, they stretched out and connected before the whole thing lit up and exploded with the pillar of light. Gaara. Tamari shouted out in worried for her little brother despite the fact he didn't care. XXX. Tsunade looked dead tired when the pillar of light come up and distracted everyone. Plus, her clothes were ripped up and she was bleeding a lot. Thankfully she lost her fear of blood a long time ago, but this was starting to get old. Damn kid, what else do you have in store? Not like I can focus on that right now with these assholes. The damn 7 swordsmen, despite some of them having fake swords made for them, were very good as they worked in tandem with each other in silent killing. They were that good and she was tiring out just trying to stay alive. Yosh. Lady Tsunade, let's show this unyouthful guys their place. Guy shouted out as he kicked away a swordsman within the rather dense field of mist. Guy, glad you could make it. Tsunade replied tiredly as she was now regretting sending Shizune away. Shizune did say you would need some help, so here we are. Thankfully the other like Genma and Heiei have evacuated the civilians. Kakashi's almost bored tone said as he walked up to them. I knew I could count on her. Tsunade replied happily as she clapped using her enhanced strength to make the mist go away quickly via shockwave. She then activated her creation rebirth seal to heal all her wounds and take away some of her exhaustion. Come on boys, let's take these assholes out. Yes, we will defeat them Lady Tsunade. Guy replied in a rather calm tone that Kakashi knew what it was about. Guy was staring at one of the swordsmen intensely. This was the one guy's father. Fought and died against to make sure their team survived so long ago. The 7 swordsmen were in a lot of trouble. XXX. This is not the fun I wanted to have with you. Jiraiya screamed like a little girl when a blob of lava almost hit him in his happy place and he could barely dodge since the part of the village he was in was covered in lava. So far, his battle with the lava mistress and her friend with the eye patch was not going well. They covered their weaknesses despite them being in a slave seal. That told him that it did not fully control them and that they were still in there. So, he made the mistake of trying to get this out of it his own way with a perverse comment and paid for it. Now he was in a bad way and he really didn't want to use Sage Mode against them in the event that he could same them. Now, he might not have a choice. Old perv. A woman's voice rang out just as Ao jumped at Jiraiya's back to try and kill him and then a fireball knocked the one-eyed Kiri ninja away. Unfortunately for Jiraiya, some of his clothes were lit on fire. Damn it, Kushina, it is already hot enough here. Jiraiya yelled in panic as he patted out the fire on his shoulders. Sorry Lord Jiraiya, that was me. Makoto stated sheepishly. You still burned him, so we are good. Kushina replied with a weak smile. Her condition was still affecting her, mostly her mental state, but this situation needed all ninja to fight and Jiraiya needed her help. Great, Jiraiya said gruffly. While he was to blame as well, he was kind of pissed at her for actually taking his advice. You would think that when one tells you ignore your child, then you would disobey that order. So, they were both to blame for this, but he would still be a little irked. If you two can keep them busy, I will be ready to release their slave seals. Slave seals? Yagura is really using them? Makoto asked. Yeah, so try not to kill them. That's why I was having such a hard time. Jiraiya stated. You sure it is not because you were being a perv? Kushina asked. Before Jiraiya could comment, they saw the pillar of light and whistled. Damn, kids got style. He said before he had to dodge another bullet of lava. Oh right, those two were still there. XXX, arg, damn you. Gaara roared as the sand all around him took on the form of glass. However, that shattered when he screamed out bloody murder and then reformed into a column of sand, which there seemed to be more than last time. Was he able to just create sand from the surroundings? Sounds as good as Naruto converting the surrounding into dust, so yeah, it made sense. I will not lose to you. I will prove my existence and prove your will of fire wrong. Gaara screamed from the sand pillar. Then the pillar expanded before taking the shape of giant Tanuki. I will crush you. Oh great, you let him transform. Menma deadpanned. You are not helping, so keep your mouth shut please. Naruto replied before he did a few hand signs and then shouted, summoning jutsu. In a poof of smoke, two familiar monkeys appeared. Goku, Vegeta, please tell me we have something that can beat Shukaku. Naruto asked while pointing at the giant Tanuki made of sand. Just stand still and die for me. Gaara's voice shouted from within Shukaku's body as he brought its massive fist down. Thankfully, he was much slower in this form, so the three were able to quickly get out of the way. Still, Gaara pursued, his insanity telling him it was fun to punch the ground. Ah, this is crazy. Goku cried as they jumped around like they didn't know what they were doing. Oh shut up Goku, Vegeta ranted as they dodged another large fist. He then looked at Naruto and saw he was in their version of Sage Mode. Naruto, we have been trained in Sage Mode alongside this, you know this, but what you don't know is that we can hop on your shoulders and share a power with you. That should help out in this situation. That is as good as any other plan. Naruto replied. Good. Vegeta nodded and then refocused on Goku. Goku, hop on Naruto's shoulders with me. It is time we fight back with that. Wait what? Goku asked before his eyes lit up. Oh, you mean the big form only achieved when the summoner and summonee worked together in Sage Mode? Vegeta nodded while rolling his eyes. Yay, Goku shouted before the both of them hopped on the blonde's shoulders. As soon as they did that, Naruto felt a spike in his chakra as the two monkeys merged with him. That's when they disappeared in a chakra sphere that Shukaku managed to punch, but nothing happened to it. After that, the sphere grew in size as it began to take shape. The final shape it took was that of a huge ape, and as the chakra was absorbed back into it, they saw that it was covered in brown fur. Oh, you are interesting Naruto. Gaara exclaimed in sick glee as he rushed his now equal-sized enemy. However, he didn't have to go very far since they were still in the arena. This is great. I think I can see my house from here. Ape Naruto shouted out in three voices at once, showing a little bit of Goku's airheadedness before he snapped back to attention as he stopped Shukaku from charging him in an arm lock. I will kill you, Gaara shouted as he struggled with Naruto's giant form. Okay guys, any ideas? We can't stay in this arm lock forever. Naruto mentally asked. Can you use your energy projection from your mouth? Goku asked. I have never done that before, but it is workable. Naruto replied. Good. Let go of his arms, and when he goes for a punch, let Vegeta take over while you charge your attack before sending it at Gaara. Goku suggested. I can't believe I am saying this, but that is a good plan Goku. Vegeta replied before Naruto did as he was told. Thankfully, in his crazed state, Gaara was still predictable as he did what Goku said he would. Naruto's ape form backed up into the stadium wall, which was thankfully void of any people since they quickly got out of there as the invasion began. As he backed up, Gaara threw a sandy fist at the ape who ducked under it and then sent an uppercut to Shukaku's face. The force from that broke it apart and sent Gaara flying into the air. Oddly enough, the rest of Giant Sand body stayed intact. Now Naruto. Vegeta and Goku shouted to the blonde who subtly nodded and made like he was going to roar only for a blast of energy to shoot out of his mouth at the airborne Gaara. Said redhead knew he was going to die. There was no way he was going to survive this attack. At first he panicked, but his face then took on a serene look. "Looks like I'll be meeting you all soon enough," he said ominously to himself with an actual smile before the blast hit him and he was gone from this world. Just like that. Gaara. Tamari cried while Kankuro just gaped at the scene, unable to comprehend what just happened. They may have feared their little brother, but they still care for him in their own way, but Tamari was still hurt by this and Kankuro thought his brother was invincible. This was a wake-up call. Menma didn't know what to feel. He did feel bad for the Sand sibling in looking Gaara, but he was stunted emotionally because his own reasoning thought that Naruto should die for being weak. Now look at the blonde. A normal human being able to kill a Jinchuriki. It was surreal. "I really fucked up," he said as the Sand pinning him and the remaining Sand siblings to the wall suddenly dropped them and traveled to the headless body of Sand. "What in the world? I am free, bitches." A crazed voice rang throughout the village. The extra Sand had reformed Shukaku's head and he was dancing around in sick glee. "Now I can have fun by killing everyone." "That's not good," Naruto grumbled. "How are you free? It shouldn't take you that quickly to reform." The giant Tanuki stared at Ape Naruto before grinning. "Simple. Over the years I secretly put my chakra into the Sand itself. It was already powered by some spirit, so it gladly took my chakra. So when Gaara transformed, my influence was already there, all he need was to sleep and I would be free. Now that you killed him, you just released my essence and mind. Now I am free." "Well, that sucks," Naruto replied, getting ready to defend himself when Shukaku brought up a fist, only to pound his stomach and huge bullet of air came out and knocked Ape Naruto to the ground. That chakra blast took a lot out of me. Gotta finish this fast." So thinking quickly, Naruto channeled the rest of his nature chakra into his giant arm, revealing the Sharingan in his palm once more. However, Shukaku was momentarily distracted by a strange lightning attack in the form of an eagle. But since it wasn't directed at him, he switched his attention back to Naruto, only to see the giant Sharingan. After that, the one-tailed beast exploded in a maelstrom of sand before it collapsed in on itself. For Tamari, she thought she saw people within the sand storm. All the people that Gaara had killed were all there, including 3 people she knew, and it made her eye widen and then water. First there was their uncle Yashimaru, her mother Karurum, and finally a very young-looking Gaara. The 3 smiled and waved to the girl, mouthing something to her, and then disappeared when the maelstrom of sand collapsed. Out of the huge pile of sand, a small hand popped out. "I am Shukaku. Fear me, bitches, as I kill you all," it said in a very high-pitched voice. Hearing the voice, Menma and Kankuro burst out laughing, making the mini Shukaku visibly pissed. Menma stopped laughing when Naruto reverted back to normal and his monkey summons disappeared. Then, Minato appeared in a yellow flash to catch the younger blonde as he lost his footing. XXX. A few minutes earlier. "Damn, that is not good," Minato grumbled as he saw Gaara take on the form of his inner beast. He knew that Yagura was a Jinchuriki as well, and he knew that the childlike cage would follow through in his threat to destroy the village if he couldn't kill Minato. He couldn't risk that, and with the cage already tapping into the power of the 3-tailed turtle, he needed to move quickly. So when Naruto blasted Gaara out of reality, that took Yagura's attention away from him and onto Naruto and Gaara's battle for a few moments. However, that was all Minato needed as he stilled himself and went into the Toad Sage mode, something Jiraiya had made him do before becoming Hokage. He didn't use it often, but this situation called for it. With this power, he created 2 clones. One went to work on a new jutsu he had been working on while the other drew a seal on his hand. He had studied the seal that put Kyuubi in Menma and Keiru. He then reformed it into something else in case ever had to fight either a Jinchuriki or a full-on tailed beast. All it took was a single touch and the beast would be trapped. It would be a pain to wait for it to reform after he killed Yagura and then have to fight it again. This was the quick and easy way. No. Yagura raged and turned to Minato, only to find him gone and surrounded by Hiraishin Kunai. Oh, this is not good, he said to himself, and then was kicked in the back of the knees and then face and then the back. Then Minato placed his seal hand on Yagura's back, taking away his tailed beast. This stunned the cage to the point he couldn't move. Minato took that opportunity to deliver the final strike, forgetting about that fact that other Jinchuriki were not like Kushina, who survived her own extraction. This is the end. Taste my new Rasengan. Lightning style. Eagle Claw. The Rasengan took of the shape of his hand and generated a current of lightning as it was plunged into Yagura's chest. As he got to his heart, Minato gripped it, sending the electrical currents all throughout the body of the childlike cage before bursting out his back in the form of a giant eagle with one claw in him. Minato let Yagura's charred body fall to the ground as he looked at the green orb in his other hand, noticing his seal that kept the three tails contained within. Then he noticed Naruto reverting back to normal. He smiled at that, proud that his son beat an enemy Jinchuriki. So he flashed down there to greet his eldest and caught him as he lost his footing. Naruto glared at him as he stood back up and walked over to the mini Shukaku. This made Minato frown. Naruto may no longer be his legal son, but he still wanted to make it up to the blonde in same way. But how? Naruto walked up to Shukaku's ranting form when the beast noticed him. What did you do to me? Naruto smirked. Simple. I used the Sharingan to make you think you have way less power than you do, as evidence of your current state. Only I can help you regain your former self. So you have two options. 1. Leave and wander the world as a mini demon or become my partner. You are not making the choice easy, you ass. If I just leave, there will be no way I could survive out there. So fine, I'll be you little partner, but I won't make things easy for you. I didn't think you would. Naruto replied calmly, getting wide-eyed looks from everyone. If I may interject, I too wish to partner up with you, said the glowing green orb in Minato's hand, making the man look at it funny. Naruto blinked and said, why? I am now limited and you remind me of someone in our past. Maybe we can benefit each other. We help you in your future battles and we gain some modicum of freedom by traveling alongside you. Shukaku seemed to calm down a moment to take Naruto in and widened its eyes before nodding, a bit reluctantly. Fine, whatever, Naruto replied with a shrug. Shukaku nodded before he jumped at the blonde in a storm of sand before reforming on Naruto's back like a backpack. The green orb of the three tails bounced out of bewildered Minato's hand before plunging into the sand backpack, making it look like it had an eye. Naruto twitched his eyebrow and said, you two better not cause me trouble. Before they could answer, Keiru, Hotaru, Ukitaka, Menma, Onoki, Kuretsuchi, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Gai, Kakashi, Makoto, Kushina, Madarumi, and Ao all jumped into the arena, looking around for any trouble but found none. Well, Menma didn't, as he was just there the whole time. Plus, Mei and Ao were unconscious and on Jiraiya and Makoto's shoulders. Minato raised an eyebrow and asked, how did your battle go, Onoki? Faye, Gold Dust retreat when Naruto killed his son and you killed Yagura. He rounded up the rest of his kids and ordered a full retreat of his forces. Good. My dad and some guy named Itachi is making sure they and the Kiri ninja never come back here. Kuretsuchi replied. Wait, you killed Gaara. Way to go. Kushina cheered happily, making Naruto scowl at her before she doubled over in pain. Kushina, Minato shouted in worry before he was blasted back by a black and red aura. This aura then jumped out of Kushina's body. It took the form of a very evil-looking Kushina while the real one slumped on the ground in unconsciousness. Who are you? Oh, you don't know me, Minato. I thought you would since we have been together for 13 years. But of course I have been in the shadows, controlling you and Kushina to hate your eldest son. She said, stunning everyone. Why would you do that? Who are you? Minato roared. This was the creature that tore his family apart. Why? Because that is my job. That has been my job for centuries, creating hatred and then feeding off of it. I am known as the hatred virus, a being split off from the Ribi, the zero-tailed slug. While we have died a few times, we were always revived thanks to our master, who needs me to control his little masked man. My current incarnation is someone you people know very well. What do you mean? Minato asked. Dark Kushina gave him a toothy smile. Let me show you Minato, sensei, she said, making the man freeze up as her body changed form and shrunk a bit. There standing in front of them was a little girl. She had brown hair, which was cut in a chin-length bob that framed her face, and brown eyes. She also had a rectangular purple marking on either side of her cheeks. She wore a long-sleeved black top and a light purple apron skirt, under which she wore black shorts, along with a pair of sandals, red stockings that stopped at her thighs, and a small, red bracelet on her left wrist. Kakashi gasped at what he saw. Rin. Yes, I am Rin. The girl said, and I did survive impaling myself on your Chidori. I don't work for Konoha anymore, I work for my master. She said as she grew back into a full adult, keeping the same features. And it is time I go, but before that, he said before disappearing and then reappearing with her hand in Naruto's gut. She ripped out a black and red orb from his body with a sinister smile. I am taking this. Could come in handy later, he said as Naruto fell to the ground. She took that distraction as her leave, disappearing a violent swirl of red and black energy. 4x. Deep underground, there lay a facility that shouldn't exist. Why shouldn't this facility exist? Well, that is because it belonged to the Root organization, which also shouldn't exist due to the third Hokage telling Danzo to shut it down. Of course Danzo just nodded and left that day, but he ignored the order, feeling that it was his duty to protect Konoha in his own way by doing the darker aspects of the shinobi world that others wouldn't do. If war needed to be waged, then so be it. He would make it happen. Any way possible. Currently, Danzo was standing over a broken teenage girl around Naruto's age group. She had long raven hair, black eyes and fang-like tattoos on her face. No, she was not an Inuzuka, she just put them on for the sake of it a long time ago. In addition to her facial features, she wore a black sleeveless shirt drenched in sweat and blood, a pair of black pants that looked skin-tight, and shinobi sandals. This girl was broken in the sense that she had done something so horrible for her training that it instead broke her. She was staring lifelessly at her hands in fear as she stared at the blood on them. She had killed her best friend, some required in the Root program to make loyal soldiers. It made no sense to outsiders, but it made perfect sense to Danzo. He breaks their spirits and then builds them up to make them revere him but not actually feel emotion. However, this situation was different. This girl was supposed to be his successor since his last candidate was no longer around. This girl was his daughter, same as the last candidate, but unlike her older sister, she was weaker and not prepared. His first child succeeded in her mission to keep track of the last cage, but was now not in the picture due to her being a pawn of someone else. Plus, he never gave his eldest any power to absorb thanks to her mother's bloodline. The mimic bloodline, it had the ability to take one power in their lifetime and keep it for their own. Danzo guessed that was why his eldest was now the hatred virus. Her body adapted to well and let her control the false-tailed beast's power, and it in turn saved her life. His first daughter was indeed Rin Nohara. This girl was his second daughter, Karasu Nohara. He chose to give both his daughters their mother's name, it was better that way. And speaking of their mother, she lay before the broken girl's eyes. Their mother, this was the person she was tasked to kill since she was rather close to the woman. Karen Nohara. Danzo was wary at first to kill the mother of his children, but in his mind, she had outlived her usefulness. After all, she was just a means to an end for him. A tool to be used. Danzo stared at the broken girl and sighed. All his attempts at waking her from her own panic and proved useless. She was truly useless to him now. It was just as well, he had doubts she could carry on his will anyway. Walking away from her, he called out to his men, "Get her out of my sight. She is not welcome here anymore. She is just a failed experiment and I have better things to do, like take Konoha for myself now that Minato has proved he's not a fit ruler." The Root agents in the shadows wordlessly did as he asked. Silent as death itself. XXX. Naruto awoke to find himself in a white room and the smell of medicine. Oh yeah, he was in the hospital. He didn't hate hospitals per se, but he didn't like being a patient at a hospital because one literally dies of boredom. Whenever he went to the hospital, he was because he would visit Tsunade and Shizune for tips in training or just to hang out with them. After all, he saw Suand as a mother and Shizune as a big sister. They were like family. So imagine his surprise when he saw he had a roommate in the form of Kushina Uzumaki. The hell happened and why are you here with me? Naruto asked a bit rudely. Kushina flinched at his tone and sighed. Even if she was not in control of her actions most of the time, she also never fought back until the end, so she was to blame as much as Minto and she knew it. But she was stubborn, a trait in all Uzumaki, and she would regain his trust and then regain his love eventually. I am not so sure what happened myself. She began, but after Rin ripped herself out of me, I passed out from having another extraction since she is technically a tailed beast now, if a false one. She then put her fist in you and ripped out Kyuubi's remaining chakra and its spawn. You might have a scar because of that. This made Naruto groan a bit. After that, Tsunade managed to get you to the emergency room to operate and keep you alive. You just about died a few times. Shizune and the others worked on me to keep me alive until my Uzumaki blood kicked in to keep me alive. As we recovered, I asked them to place me in the same room as you. Why? Naruto asked, still rather angry with her thanks to all the years of neglect, but for some reason, it was less now. His dark self was taken from him and that lessened his hatred it seemed. Odd. Because, Kushina replied, I need to talk to you. I don't know if apologizing to you will fix anything but I need to do it and I won't blame Rin because I never fought it. I realize I am a horrible mother, but I need to fix this, somehow. Merely apologizing for years of neglect won't help at all. Naruto grunted but way deep down, he wanted to give Kushina a chance. However, the more rational side of his mind was still in control. I don't give a shit that you were controlled by Rin. The fact is, you never fought her and let her guide and control your actions to the point that is completely used to interact with me at all after all the shit that has happened. You and Minato clearly showed no signs that you ever gave two shits about me, and when Minato did want to train me, it was in the last year of the academy where it wouldn't have mattered as it would have me pawned off to the lowest ranking Jonin sensei around, ensuring that I died in the field. That fact that you never did anything at all makes you worthless. Naruto raged, letting his anger get the best of him. Kushina was openly crying at this point because his words were true and they stung. She didn't know what really happened to Rin, but it was her goal to have Naruto killed off eventually. So I trained on my own and behind your backs because I knew you would have told me to stop or killed me yourself. Naruto continued. When Jiraiya told you that stupid prophecy made by some old ass toad, you took his fucking word for it and let me mark me as a nothing. I will never forgive him for that because he wrote me off without ever even knowing me. He was supposed to be a family friend, but I see him only as a stranger and will never see him as anything else. Then we have Menma. He might not have been infected as you and Minato were, but you sure as hell didn't help the situation at all. You let him berate me and tell me to just die. That made him think that I was weak from the start and that I will always be worthless. That made him paranoid to the point that if he was ever weak, he would be in the same boat as me. So he thought that he needed to kill me to never be seen as weak in your eyes. So yes, you are a horrible mother that I hate with a passion along with Minato. And you know what, Tsunade is a better mother than you ever were. Kushina couldn't believe her ears. She knew that everything he said was true as it was proven in the exams with Menma, but hearing that Tsunade, the legendary sucker and drunk, was a better mother than her. It just wasn't fair. Why did Rin and that masked man have to do this? Why couldn't they have been a happy family? Was this family destined to be screwed over or what? And you know what? Naruto said as his face dawned with a realization. Kaoru was the only member of this family that ever gave a shit about me. She never berated me or told me to die. She was nothing but nice to me and I ignored her because I was fixated on you all. Her only crime was neglecting to see how you all were to me, and I gave her a chance and she hasn't screwed me over yet. She has gained some of my trust, but not all of it. Kushina smiled at this despite her own sadness at the moment. It seemed that was hope for their family yet. Kaoru was the key, it seemed. Is there any way to repair the damage we have caused? Naruto glared at her for a moment, making her flinch and inward accept that that was never going to be a chance for that. However, Naruto sighed, I want to say hell no and stay out of my life, but with my inner darkness gone, my hatred towards you is not amped by it anymore. I will always hate you for what you and Minato did to me as well as Menma, but there is a slim chance that I could accept you again as family. Don't even expect it to be instant because it will take a long time to do so. Slim chance is still a chance and that is all I ask for. Kushina replied with happy tears directed at her eldest son who was still glaring at her. I will work towards that goal until the day I die. Naruto stared at the red head for a moment before just grunting and looking away. XXX. Tsunade, who had been on the other side on the door, smiled to herself. It would seem that things were not permanent, but the thing that got her was Naruto admitting that she was a better mother than Kushina. It made her happy as she walked away. Once back in her office, she noticed that Jiraiya was still in there, tied to one of her chairs. Alright, certain events in the last few days have happened that I am now willing to listen to your side of the story. You better make it good or we'll kill you this time. Jiraiya stared at the floor in silence. One of his students was the virus. How was that possible? Nothing made sense to him about that, but that didn't matter at this point. He needed to clear the air between him and his old teammate if he was ever going to be friends with her again. I know I messed up, so here it is. I told you guys a false prophecy that I made up because what I saw and heard when I came back would have led to the dark path of the real prophecy. I made it dependent on Menma and Keiru to save that world when it is really Naruto who is going to save it. I realize now that I am responsible for the end of the world if it comes to that. Dumbass. Tsunade mumbled. The real prophecy is this. The world's fate shall be decided by a single person. If they let hate consume them and turn their back on the family that neglected them so, then the world will forever be lost in the fires of war. But if they learn to forgive and trust their siblings to have their back, then the world shall know salvation. Bullshit. Tsunade growled, making Jiraiya flinched. Back then I see why you did it because they were being controlled, but you really did pave the way for the darker half of this prophecy. Jiraiya, you were always a dumbass, but now you amped that notion up. A prophecy is just a prophecy, and the one you got is fucking stupid. What do you mean? Not everyone believes in fate and prophecy, I am one of them. This is because I just got back from Naruto and Kushina's room and he has proven not only in there but throughout this whole ordeal that he has shaped his own destiny, not some ridiculous prophecy made by some senile old toad. He is willing to forgive, but it will take a long time. A very long time. However, you will never have a chance with him. He sees you as the cause of all of this. He hates you. Jiraiya looked down in sadness. He should have expected that as well when things basically went to shit. If that was the case, he would stay out of Naruto's life if that is what he wanted. He would give that much. So what now? Tsunade smirked. What else is there? As Naruto's appointed mother, I have to look out for him. That made Jiraiya's jaw drop to the floor. Tsunade, as a mother, was just odd. So, I won't ban you from seeing him, but you have to make it up to him somehow as it is proven that his anger and hatred have been reduced to a point. I see. Jiraiya replied aside, relieved that there was a small chance of redemption. So what now? Are we still friends? Tsunade smirked. Yeah, sure. But no, I will not go out with you. So get that shit out of your perverted mind. Now get out of here. Okay, but I am still tied up. Are you the one thinking something perverted with me being the one tied up? Jiraiya asked with a creepy leer. Tsunade gained a tick mark at that. She roughly grabbed the man by his shirt and threw him out the window. You're a ninja. Get out of it yourself. He fell all the way down to the ground in a loud crash. Dumbass, she said to herself before sitting down to work on medical paperwork. Oh joy. XXX. Keiru walked along the streets of Konoha, deep in thought about what's been going the last few days. From her brother's revelations to the invasion, it all made her think hard on what to do next. She knew she was strong, that much was for sure. She even had the rest of the 7 swordsmen's swords thanks to Tsunade, Guy, and Kakashi. She was still learning how to use each one and it was difficult. But still, she had limited control over Kyuubi's chakra and water-based abilities. Then there were her parents. They were basically a wreck. Minato could barely do his job as he was constantly worried about Naruto and how to make it up to him. So that left a lot of people wondering if he was fit to be Hokage, especially after what Naruto and then Rin revealed. Her mother had been put in the hospital because of Rin's self-extraction from her body, making it so that she almost died. However, Kaoru knew that Kushina was taking steps to make it up to Naruto by being in the same room as him in the hospital. However, Kaoru herself wasn't really sure how to feel about her family at the moment. Her parents were under the control of Rin, the hatred parasite, and she made them hate Naruto to the point that they wanted him dead in some cases. That much was obvious, and it pissed her off because Rin was working with a memory of the event that freed the Kyuubi, making them think it was Naruto's fault. If that was the case, it was not just his fault, but hers and Menma's fault as well, since a Jinchuriki's seal is weakened during childbirth. So that was very flawed logic that somehow worked. So now, she was just pissed off at her parents for being controlled so easily and not fighting back. Then there was Menma, and thanks to their parents' actions, his mind had been twisted to the point that all weak people were to die, including Naruto, whom he nearly killed. It was a scary thought, but if she had stayed in that battle, she would have killed Menma out of anger, and it scared her. It scared her a lot. That was because in her mind, she would be just like Menma at the point. However, he was changing, if it was slow. He had already apologized to her for all his harsh words and even said that it was going to be hard to get out of his way of thinking for a while. After all, you can't unlearn things like that in an instant. Now he just needed to apologize to Naruto, whom she was uncertain if he would even accept it. Finally, there was Naruto himself. She still loved him, and it scared her when he got another hand put in his chest, this time by Rin. She had taken Naruto's piece of Kyuubi and his hatred. She wondered if it would be easier now to be with him when he gets better. Oh, who was she kidding? Kuretsuchi and Hinata also had an interest in him, and they made it clear that they wanted him and were not going to give up. Kuretsuchi was now the official liaison between Iwa and Konoha, which meant she was going to be around a lot more often. Sure, she was already the best friend of Naruto, but Kaoru wasn't going to let her win. Then there was Hinata. She was an easily influenced girl. That much was for certain when she revealed Naruto's never-give-up attitude. Naruto had proven that he was never going to give up in the face of his neglectful parents, and Hinata took to that. This thought made Kaoru thinking on how much more Hinata will change in the future. Would she gain personality traits of others to influence her behavior to get Naruto, or will she gain courage her own way somehow? Either way, Kaoru had more competition in Hinata as well. Kaoru, hurry up, I am hungry. A voice rang out. Looking ahead of her, Kaoru noticed that both Hinata and Kuretsuchi were ahead of her. She assumed it was Kuretsuchi who called her out. Yes, she was going to hang out with them. Even if they were love rivals, that didn't mean they had to absolutely hate each other. After all, look what happened to Sakura and Ino. Yeah, Kaoru replied as she walked up to them. I can't be long today, I have to show Hotaru and Utakata around the village. Oh, Bubble Boy and his girlfriend? Kuretsuchi asked with a smirk. Yeah, them, Kaoru replied as they walked. Why don't we all go together? Hinata asked. I suppose that could work. Kaoru replied. Tsunade is taking care of Mei, and that Aogai went to the Hyuga compound for some reason. Good. Then after that, we can go see if Naruto is awake yet. Kuretsuchi replied, getting a nod from the other girls. XXX. Jugo and Karen were helping their sensei and Tsunade with some paperwork. Well, they were redoing it for her while she drank. The amount of patience was bad but manageable thanks to the invasion. But the paperwork was horrible. So she was letting her lackeys, students do it for her. Knock, knock. The door opened to reveal a red-headed woman in a long-sleeved, dark blue dress that fell just below the knees. Ah, Mei Terumi, what can I do for you? Tsunade asked, sober up immediately. Mei sat in the only available chair with an almost defeated look. It was unusual on her face, and Tsunade didn't like it. Is there any way you can remove some of my memories? That is an odd request. Tsunade replied, a little put off by the request. I am not even sure Inoichi could do it himself. Why do you ask? Because, the last days of the rebellion and then the slave seal. It is hard to function normally when I am constantly reminded of what happened. Of how everyone was suddenly attacked, and then all my troops who looked up to me die with a look that said, why couldn't you protect us? Worst of all, the kid I constantly teased, Chojuro, died in my arms. I may have teased him for having a crush on me, but after a while, I saw him as son, and seeing him die like that in my arms, it hurts. It hurts so much. Tsunade nodded. This woman felt similar pain to her. Not being able to save the ones that matter most to you when it counts. She got up from her desk and hugged the woman, who broke down soon afterwards. Karen and Jugo looked on in sadness. Karen didn't know what to say. She had been a captive of one of Orochimaru's old goons and didn't have a lot of friends, so she could not relate. Jugo, however, had something to say. Use that pain to make yourself stronger, he said. What? Mei replied. Don't let their sacrifice go in vain. Jugo stated. Use your pain and turn it into something good to save others. That is what I am doing with my family curse, thanks to Naruto. If you don't want to see those close to you die so easy anymore, learn the medical arts with us. Tsunade saw a look of hope on the woman's face and smiled. Yeah, she could help Mei. Forgetting those memories of all of you loved ones won't help you. If you forget them, you will not grow as a person. I don't mind teaching you so medical arts to protect those you care about. Mei started at both Jugo and Tsunade for a moment before a look of happiness overcame her. With a smile, Mei nodded her head. Thank you, she said over and over again. As Tsunade hugged the now happy woman, she never missed the small blush on Jugo's face. Oh, this would be fun. XXX. Ao stood before the door of the feared and famed head of the Hyuga clan. Now that he was in Konoha, he only felt that it was right that he confess to the Hyuga about his eye. Knocking on the door, he received a muffled, "Enter," to which he did. As soon as he was in the room with the man, Ao noticed that the man was diligently doing paperwork, the bane of every high-ranking shinobi's existence. So he quietly sat on his knees until the man turned to him. After about 10 minutes of uncomfortable silence, Hiashi Hyuga finally turned around to greet his guest. He showed no emotion and just let the man before him speak. Ao bowed his head to the floor and said, Lord Hiashi, I am known as Ao. Due to the slave seal being ripped off me, I am now a member of Konoha. However, sickness that has come to pass, I feel it is only right that I tell you that under this eye patch is your clan's Dujutsu, the Byakugan. When I was younger, I fought one of you clan and took their eye for my own. You may do as you wish to me. Hiashi stared impassively at the man before him. He was surprised that he had a stolen Byakugan and able to even use it. That would explain why one of the elders had only one eye, which was hilarious to Hiashi. Thinking about this, Ao could help in his goal of getting rid of the caged bird seal. He knew Hinata was searching for the same thing, when she was not training or going after the eldest son of the Hokage. So she would be happy about that as well. Already the wheels were turning in his head on how this could actually work. But first, he needed more information. I see. You are at peace with whatever fate becomes of you, Hiashi stated ominously. Then you are to help me by telling me how your Byakugan works for you and how you protect it. I wish to abolish the use of our caged bird seal and bringing the clan back together as a true family. If your ways impress me and they work for the clan, I am willing to waive you transgression on our clan and bring you in as an honorary clan member and as a possible teacher to my eldest daughter. Of course I will help as well as I can. Ao stated excitedly and fairly shocked that this man was not going to kill him. He had every right to do so and he would rather use Ao to help his clan. Maybe the rumors surrounding Hiashi were false. I am just shocked you took this so well. Hiashi smirked. You wouldn't be the first in this village to have an eye that doesn't belong to you. I am sure you and Kakashi will have much to talk about after this is all done. XXX. Minato sat in his desk chair in the Hokage's office with a look of deep depression. I failed. He was a horrible father. He let a simple virus use a memory and made it so bad that he hated his son. I failed. Even worse, he had let the virus get so out of control that it made him ruin his family. He had no control for he gave it all to it. His oldest son broke away from the family because of his actions. His other son became so paranoid that he thought he should kill Naruto. I failed. Worst of all, the cause of all this was a simple virus, or so he thought. It was Rin, one of the students he wasn't able to protect. She had fallen so far as to help destroy his family. All because he had failed. The door to his office suddenly opened to reveal an older man who looked like he had seen better days, with him missing an eye in his crippled state. "Ah, what do you want, Danzo? I am not in the mood," Minato stated pathetically. Danzo looked at the darkened office in disgust. Minato had trashed the place in his angered and then pathetic depression. Such a simple fool. At least he trained his men to show no emotion. Soon, all of Konoha will be like that, or at least half the population anyway, due to the others being dead for not being able to handle his ways. Weeding out the bad roots, as it were. Simple, he said as he reached his hand into the bandages around him and pulled. "You are not fit to be Hokage, so I am taking it by force." "What?" Minato started to say before he saw the sight of a Sharingan. XXXXXX.